Hey, greetings, friends. Jacque Howard here, and welcome to Trenton 365, Jacque's Reach, my podcast, a whole bunch of things. Pretty much a big mix-up, a big mashup. But the most important thing is that you're spending time listening and hearing from me and the other human beings that I'm connected to and the work and the joy that they're bringing. And most of the time, I've got a relationship with them, and I'm looking to have them come back on a regular basis and share their skill set, their style, their talents, their techniques, all with the idea that if you can connect with them, that's how we can work together to build a better community for everyone. And that, to me, is the impetus of civic engagement. With that being said, everyone knows that I'm a foodie. And now it is my time to bring on a couple of new friends that I met. And I want to give a big shout out to Instagram and social media because it provides me this opportunity to reach a larger audience and for me to connect with people sometimes I won't get a chance to bump into. And two of those guys are on the screen with me right now. I've got Johnny Baesa and Justin Wu. Now, I'm going to have them introduce themselves, but I will tell you this, folks. It's amazing how sometimes the algorithms, when you're looking for something, how it just pops up. And I went down this rabbit hole watching Johnny Baesa's videos, Cheap Eats, New York City, and I got all these lists of restaurants and things that I want to go to. So what we're looking to do is have a connection where the three of us can meet in person. We can see some of Justin's artwork and the work that he's doing as far as working with small businesses, and then we can go and have some food and document it and let other folks know about all these wonderful things that are happening. Johnny, I want you to start first. Why don't you introduce yourself and then share a little bit about how you got started with this whole idea and this concept of, hey, taking what you have experienced, the great food, the inexpensive food that you've been able to find, and sharing it on Instagram.
Sure. Hey, everyone. My name is Johnny. I just want to say thank you, first of all, Mr. Howard, for having me on the show. This is something that I never realized that could happen to me, of all people. So I guess I'll start with my name. I'm Johnny. I currently live in New York City, in Queens specifically. Part-time foodie, but there are conversations that it might happen to be full-time in the next couple of years. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
It's just wild. So my current full-time job, I'm a flight attendant for a big airline in the US. So whenever I don't fly, I go around New York City and exploring some of the best foods to eat. So when I talk to people and share my story, I kind of just say that I'm the accidental foodie because that's really what happened. So quick story of how all of this transpired. About 4 months ago, I was talking to a friend who runs a food blog over in the West Coast, and he was looking to expand, and he wanted to go to the East Coast, have someone who has experience with filming and storytelling, that stuff. And that was me. So keeping it short, that partnership didn't work out. And before it even started, I thought to myself, hey, why don't I start a page so I can kind of double dip on the content? I'm gonna help grow their brand, but also what if I'm able to grow my brand just accidentally? And that's kind of what happened. And less than 4 months later, it's just, I don't know, it's just huge. It's a lot going on. And I feel like all these blessings just came out of nowhere. From meeting Justin, meeting new friends, and finding all these new places, meeting you, Mr. Howard, being on the show. It's been crazy, and very grateful for everything that's happened. So happy to be here.
Well, I'll tell you what, I appreciate that. And the humility is something that I think is really important. And oftentimes it's misunderstood, the value and the wealth of being comfortable enough with yourself to humbly say, hey, I appreciate the gratitude that others have sent me. I want to tell you that paging through your work, I can't believe it's only been 4 months or however long you've been doing it. It looks
Crazy.
Fantastic. The content is awesome. Literally, when I see it, I want to go to those restaurants. And I think that's what led me, the spirit in me, to well up and say, yo, you got to reach out and talk to him and see what you can do. And that's part of what this is. We're going to take those steps. We're going to let the synergy happen on its own, let it become organic and see where it goes. But I'll tell you what, man, when it comes down to food, we all like it. I don't care what anyone says. Everybody's got their certain dishes that they really dig. You've expanded my mind as far as what I want to try, man.
That's awesome.
I was just looking I was looking earlier about the peanut noodles.
Yeah.
Man, I'm thinking, how delicious would that be to have right now. So you can make sure that you tell all your fans, and you can tell the restaurants and so forth, that there are people who are watching and seeing who are like, yo, I got to go there and I got to check that out. Justin, I'd like for you to jump in because, and I'm gonna. Johnny spoke so highly of you and your friendship and the work that you do and your artistic abilities, your creativity, and your the way you've spun that into an entrepreneurial effort to help these businesses. I don't want to give it all away, but I'd like for you to introduce yourself and then share a little bit about what you're doing with your art. Okay.
Sure,
Awesome.
sure. So just like Johnny, well, I'm actually born and raised in Queens, but I still live in Queens today. And I would say that my upbringing, well, my mom got me into food. I didn't realize that at the time, but she's a great cook, and food is made with love. So I was introduced to a lot of different dishes from her when I was growing up. But being born and raised in Queens, I was fortunate enough to get to try different types of foods from my friends' families and just different neighborhoods. And it really got me interested. And as I got older, just binging food documentaries, trying different restaurants. I like to cook myself. I know Johnny likes to cook. I'm just I'm just a person that loves learning. And I think going back to Johnny's point, like I'm not an expert at all. I just love learning with other people. And I feel like food really tells a story, not only about the ingredients, the origins, the historical, foundation of it all, but also just what these small business owners or mom and pop shops, like, why are they doing food? Why are they making food and sharing part of their culture and cuisine? So that's really what went into it. Just like Johnny, actually, I don't illustrate full time. I would kind of look at it. I used to call myself just a hobbyist, but during the pandemic, I had more time to sit at home and kind of think about something I wanted to do creatively, and I had never really drawn food before, and I thought that it would be fun to mix illustration with the food that I was eating. At the time, restaurants were closed, and it was heartbreaking, honestly, to see what people were going through. I have some friends who also work in the food industry, and things were very tough. So I thought it would be fun to illustrate food that I was ordering as delivery, and just kind of reimagining it as how I would eat it, on a pretty plate in a restaurant. Some of it based on photo references, some of it based on experience. Ultimately, when restaurants reopened, they started to notice, and gratefully they invited me in to just try their food. But I also started gifting my art on a charitable basis. That kind of escalated into a charitable fundraising capacity where I was using my artwork to, increase fundraising for restaurant grants, employee grants in the restaurant industry in New York City through an organization named R.E.A.C.H. They were just doing great work during the pandemic. And honestly, content creation was never supposed to be, like Johnny mentions the word accidental. This wasn't part of the plan. And
Yeah.
if one were to scroll back through my feed, it was all static. It was all static images of my illustrations. I didn't show my face. I wasn't planning on it. I just thought that it might be a great way to connect with people in the food community because people had been so supportive. And I was trying all these different types of food, going to places that I never thought I would go, and I thought it would make sense to start vlogging my experiences. So I didn't really have any content creation experience, and the first year of it, I've been doing it for a year and a half. The first year of it was really trial and error. Like, to be honest, I didn't know what I was doing, but again, just growing with the community, learning and meeting incredible, talented people like you and Johnny, right? And just connecting with people with something that is a connector, which is food. So now I kind of have a hybrid account where I content create for local businesses, and I also still do my illustration piece. And my whole thing is I believe that food is the rawest form of art almost because, for example, like I grew up doing traditional medium. So I did go to art class and I would paint oil paints, pastel, charcoal, different types of medium. But with food, you could smell it, you could taste it. It's visually appealing, and that's also subjective, right? It's art. It's up to people's interpretation. What's authentic is questioning authenticity is also questioning someone's intention and hearing what these people and the chefs and just street food vendors or people that just appreciate food like all of us. It's just the most intriguing and inspirational thing, and that's why I'm doing this today. I don't really know where this is going to go, but my goal right now is to grow this and thankfully I've been able to collaborate on certain partnerships recently, local businesses, and yeah, just onwards and upwards, hopefully.
Yo, I tell you what, man, this is crazy energy. I've got my list of questions and stuff. I'm going to try to work through them, but sometimes, it's just like they just go out the window when I'm doing these interviews because it's just like amazing energy. But I do want to talk about Queens, New York City. Queens is like New York itself is known as everything is there, but there's this different kind of vibe that Queens has. And I'm a Mets fan. I grew up a Mets fan. I'm a diehard Mets fan. So can you both just talk about your experience about Queens and why Queens has that vibe that it does?
Yeah, Johnny, you want to go
Oh,
first? Yeah, you can
sure,
go
sure.
first. Yeah.
I'll go first. I think I forgot to mention that I'm not born and raised in Queens. Or Justin is. I was born in the Philippines, grew up in Chicago, and so I'm brand new to New York City as a whole. I've only been a resident here for about 2 years. So yeah, it's very new. So a lot of these places that I've been to, same thing with you. It's my first time having it, first time seeing some of these places, and I have so many questions when it comes to cuisine, especially in Queens. And what I noticed with Queens especially is that diversity is huge. There's just so much that you can do, events, especially food. You can go into one area of Queens, for example, where I'm at in Astoria, and you're gonna find some of the best Greek food you'll ever find in the city. Just a couple train stops away, and then you're in Flushing or Jackson Heights, where they have Indian, Bengali, Asian fusion, just all this crazy stuff where you can literally feel like you're traveling to a new country and it's only train stops away. So I really appreciate the diversity in Queens, and not just with food, with people especially. There's so many types of characters here every single day that you can meet. And I will say that before coming into Queens and New York City, I had this image of New York City as everyone is just rude or mean, just always hustling and bustling, just get out of my way, right? And now I understand that it's not the case. Everyone here is so kind. New Yorkers in general, I feel like, are just very kind people. And I think people outside of New York see it in a different way because everyone is just so busy. There's a mission every single day for every New Yorker, and they just don't want anyone to get out of their way. So I can see why there's a misunderstanding there. But yeah, it's been great. New foodie, new city, everything is still new to me. So I feel like Justin can have a better answer as someone from Queens, born and raised. So my experience so far has been amazing. I love it.
Awesome. And I'm sure Justin's gonna elaborate, but your experience is your experience, right?
Yes.
And that's what I try to embark in all my conversations. The best way for us to get better as human beings is for everyone who's at the table, everyone can come to the table. And everyone who's at the table, their opinions, their experiences are just as valuable as everybody else's. And if we love and respect each other that way, that's how we can have these conversations and how we can experience life and focus on the stuff that we really like food. You know what I mean? So Justin, jump in, man. Talk to us about Queens, especially since that's your home city.
I could 100% tell you that Justin does not have a better answer. Because I feel like what Johnny said, I mean, I kind of smiled when Johnny said he told me that he was born in the Philippines, and that's really what Queens is about. Johnny talked about, just going to neighborhood and having a different feel. The vibe is different, the energy is different every single stop you get off. And I guess, for example, if you get on the 7 line, like Johnny said, like Jackson Heights, I used to hang out there all the time because a few of my friends there, they grew up there. So like they exposed me to a lot of Bengali food, Indian food.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about Woodside, like there's a little Philippines over there essentially, and there's great Filipino restaurants and that's the thing, like living in Queens, it's really hard. And just being in the city in general, New York City in general, it's very hard to explore every single part because things are always developing, but there's always places that are very niche and nuanced that have their own special story. And there's so many places that I'm finding out literally every day just by vlogging and just by reading. For me, Queens is special because it's open-minded, and I think that goes for New Yorkers in general. Yes, our stereotype is definitely that we're very brash, we're kind of rude, we're loud, but I'll say one thing about New Yorkers is that we are in a rush, but we're not afraid to share. We're not really afraid to speak our mind usually, and that gets the conversation going though. I mean, like with food, it's a rolling conversation that has never stopped since, I guess, the beginning of man, right? People have always been eating and cooking things in different ways since we discovered fire, I guess, right? So I think Queens is interesting in that. I don't know the statistic right now off the top of my head, but I do know for a long time, and it might still be now, they were the most ethnically diverse. It was the most ethnically diverse pocket in the world. And it's called a melting pot for a reason. I think that there are so many things it has to offer. I used to also live in Astoria, Queens for a little bit. I just know around where I lived, there was great Mediterranean and Greek food, but I also had exposure to a lot of great Latin American food. I remember trying Ecuadorian food for the first time, and it was amazing when I lived in Astoria. There was this French place that made great a buckwheat crepes that took me back to like my time in Paris. Like it just really, it's just that amalgamation of different experiences that educates. And I think that's what it is about food. And same thing with my life perspective, right? We're not born to know everything. That's just not how things go. But if you could just learn something every day and continue having conversations and keep an open mind, I think food has that platform for all of us.
So well put, both of you. I'm really glad that we've got this developing, friendship relationship. You both have really touched me, not only with what you're producing, but also with how you're communicating, and it appears to me that it's very genuine. That you guys really like food and have had some wonderful experiences over food, and you want to share it, with other people. Going forward, I know there's a couple, like, especially in this industry of entertainment and all this stuff, there's always things that are coming down the pike, and it's just a matter, hey, does this work for now? Will it work later, etc. So can you just kind of throw out some of the things that you're working on right now, and maybe give some folks who are going to go over to your social media pages and follow you what they can expect in the very near future from the both of you?
Sure. So I started off doing cheap eats, and that wasn't really the plan. It just kind of blew off. It just grew because I learned that a lot of people also see New York as very expensive. While this is true, there are also a lot of hidden gems where you can taste authentic food without breaking the bank. And that's something that really surprised me because, someone from outside of New York, I was surprised to find these places we can have a full meal with friends for under $10. So the way I started Instagram is everything that I have on Instagram is videos. So when you go to my page, you'll see reels, and the series that I have right now, the main series is the Cheap Eats series all over Manhattan and Queens. I still have to go to the different boroughs, but I have just started. Gotta give me some time. But I am also starting another new series just called Best Eats in New York City, because I don't want to be just seen as a cheap eats guy. And I want to also share restaurants that are not cheap eats. For example, I went to this place called Hamido Seafood in Astoria. It was quite an accident because my girlfriend and I were supposed to go on date night in Manhattan. And we both got lazy and we said, oh, we don't really want to go to Manhattan. So we just went couple of train stops and we ended up in Ditmars. And this place was not cheap eats, but I knew that I wanted to share it to the world. So I still made a video, and then I thought about, how can I do this? And so I just named a new series called Best Eats. Literally, it's just anything other than the cheap eats options in New York City. So I'm really excited about that. Future plans for me, I also want to do recipe videos because, as Justin said earlier, I do enjoy cooking a lot. I just never had the chance to kind of show that part of myself. I cook for my girlfriend, I cook for myself, sometimes my family. And I think eventually down the line, that's something that I want to share as well and slowly introduce into my audience.
Awesome. That sounds fantastic. My mouth is watering over here. Can I make sure that I can be on that list when these meals start happening?
Oh, yes, of course. If you like Filipino food, I got you. I love
Man,
cooking
look,
Filipino food.
I have what some folks call, they say, a missionary stomach. I literally, if it's presented before me, I'm gonna eat it, and very thankful. I only have one or two food allergies, and they're so rare. But nah, if you're cooking, I'm eating.
All right, perfect.
Awesome.
Nice, nice.
Yes, sir. Blessings. Justin, what about you, man? What do you have coming up soon that we can tease out to folks, and get some folks to, have some expectations about what you have coming down the line?
Yeah, I definitely want to continue going harder with the illustration standpoint. I think recently I've focused a little bit more on content creation just because I've had a lot of opportunities pop up on that perspective. But one thing I do want to do with my content creation, or like content in general, is I want to tell better stories. I think the truth is, and I'll be very transparent about this, I feel like for a while I was making very short videos, and it's still short form content, but it was shorter than I would have liked. And I think that's because I was worried that I wouldn't keep people's attention span with like the message I was getting out. Currently, what I want to do is I want to. So right now I write a lot of long captions because I do want to, talk about the owners behind the restaurant and talk about their stories, talk about their passion, right? But I also want to focus on narrating that as well as showing it. It's kind of a work in progress, but I do want to get to a point where, I'm potentially also interviewing local business owners. I'm kind of, including that aspect. I would say that somebody that's always really influenced me as a kid was Anthony Bourdain, rest in peace. I mean, he was a brilliant storyteller, and I think he's a guy that changed the world and changed how, because he tied in not just food, he tied in like just the culture and the whole story and the human aspect. I think food is about just us being people, right? So I really want to go back to that, and I'm just working on how to make sure it's concise and clear to people and understandable. But that's what I want to build my content to be out to. And similar to Johnny, I mean, Johnny and I have actually talked about this, and he did put this idea in my brain of the cooking stuff. I do want to cook. I did one cooking video in the past, like when I first launched my account. It wasn't really a recipe video, it was just kind of like a highlight video because I worked with like a local halal meats company. But he's given me some great insight on that and encouraged me to go towards that. So maybe in the future, me and Johnny can have a potluck, and you can come through, Jacque.
That'd be dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's definitely, I want to do that too, because I cook because not only does it make me happy, I love cooking for people. Again, food is love, but also it helps me understand ingredients better. Like when someone tells me like, oh, this is what I kind of put in the pot when I braise this meat for 12 hours, right? I kind of better understand why that makes sense. I'm definitely not an expert by any means. I have no real professional cooking experience. I just read and watch a lot and take in my experiences, but that's stuff that I really value and it excites me. And I think just overall, I just want to continue covering more places that I haven't been to. Like I said, I'm learning with everybody else. One thing I want to do is explore other areas that I really haven't had the opportunity to go to as much. Like at some point, I'm hoping to. I have a list of potential restaurants that I want to visit in Harlem, for example, and there's just a various places in the city. The city has so much going on, and sometimes my followers are like, "Oh, you have so many places in Queens." It's because I'm from here, but it's I want to make sure I'm branching out as well, and it's just about scheduling correctly so that I have the bandwidth to do all of it. But yeah, but I really want to like increase that, so that's something that's definitely on the forefront in my mind.
Well, just a little tidbit about the when people are saying, "Hey, you're doing this and you're in this one particular area," take that as a thumbs up, because that means that they're watching and
Yeah,
they've gone through everything, so they
Yeah,
know
that's good.
you. So now it's time to sprinkle some different things in. But man, look, you guys are killing it. I mean, you really are. I mean, you guys are friends. You've got a growing network that you're working on. You're getting some shine. Man, look, anything I can do to help you, I'm here for you, but I'm really excited. I can't wait to get up to Queens. I can't wait. I may have to start looking at the Mets schedule and try to coordinate something, go to a Mets game, and then kind of cook up with you guys as well. Any final thoughts that you would like to share? Justin, I'd like for you to go first, and then Johnny finish up. Just some final thoughts you'd like to share, with the people who are going to be listening and who found out about you both for the first time.
Absolutely. Well, first off, Jacque, thank you for this, and I'm super excited to link up in person. Definitely come to Queens anytime, and I'm actually a big baseball fan.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about this in person because I'm actually not a Mets fan, so you might.
Are you a Yankees fan?
I'm a Yankees fan, but there's a reason. My relatives, a lot of them live in Boston, so when I started watching baseball, they took me to Fenway all the time, and I came home, didn't know who to watch, who to root for, and I picked the team they hated the most. So that's kind of how it happened. I actually went
That
to
works,
Citi
I
Field.
guess.
I went to Citi Field recently for the Subway Series. The Mets walked off the Yankees. That was a good game though. But Mets are killing it right now. But we'll talk more baseball offline.
Man.
But I guess I just want to say, like, it's just been a really rewarding experience, not only because I've been able to connect with people and do something that I honestly am passionate about and love, which is, both content creation, but also illustration. But also the fact that I feel like there is good in content creation. There is good in spreading the word. I think spreading awareness. I think a lot of mom and pop shops, it's really difficult. Like you're working so hard to, create such beautiful food and just the business aspect of it, making sure your business model makes sense, your margins, just everything from a cost perspective, especially with inflation right now. And it's incredibly important to be mindful that it's hard to be a small business owner. I have all the respect in the world for people that do that. And to be able to help them, because in our day and age, social media it really is the thing. I mean, the news is on there, and if your marketing plan is like, for whether you're a business or, you're in food, whatever, people are on social media. That's how the word spreads. It's like a different version of a newsletter now, and it's more efficient, right? There's an algorithm, and content's only going to get more and more, I guess, exponentially futuristic and different. And it's about how to be agile. But I want to help business owners promote, because I know a lot of them don't have the time. Like I have a lot of friends in food, and I mean, you're prepping at 5 a.m. You're sourcing from a local business that you're then supporting, but then you're turning those ingredients into food that you're serving people. And then there's cleanup, and of course, every other thing that's regulation based and stuff. So I think just being able to help people, hopefully that's the biggest thing for me moving forward.
Justin Wu, thank you so much. Johnny, your turn,
Yes,
Johnny.
sir. My turn. Well, first of all, also just want to say thank you, Mr. Howard, for having me, Justin for hopping on. This has been a fun experience. It's really, really great. So I think the final message I want to give out is, I think, a little personal for me. It's that if you have something that you're passionate about and you want to create something, in my case, producing videos and kind of just sharing my life and my point of view with Queens and food, is just go out and do it. Be as genuine as you can and show that passion. Learn how to tell a story, and whatever your outlet may be, whether it's videos on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, if it's photo sets, whatever it is, tell your story, be genuine, and people will be attracted to that. So in the past, I've had many failures when it comes to social media. I've started many blogs, started a travel account. A lot of these things didn't work out. I've tried so many things, and it kind of blows my mind now that I'm figuring out, wait, I love to storytell, I love food. Why didn't I do this together? Why didn't I combine it together? It sounds like such a silly thing, and why didn't I realize this? I eat every day. I like to try to eat new foods all the time, but I guess it was just timing. So, and producing is at its best, and I'm continuing to learn. So that's why I think maybe people are starting to notice, and also just being genuine. In the past, with my other businesses and projects, I was told to, hey, Johnny, maybe you should be a little louder. Maybe you should try different things, be more outspoken. and I tried it, but then people kind of see through that. And naturally, I'm just a very chill, mellow guy. The way I talk in my videos, that's just how I am. And so that's how I decided. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be myself, 100% transparent through all my videos, everything I produce, the narration. And if it doesn't go off, it doesn't. But at the end of the day, I just know that I gave it my all and that I stay true to myself. Thankfully, it works. A lot of thanks to people that have helped me along the way. Justin also, I just want to say real quick, Justin was one of the few people that I looked up to before I even started the account. Because I remember seeing his account. I've heard friends from the airline industry. A couple of my friends that are flight attendants actually know who Justin is because of his art. And I was like, wow, this guy is dope. I would love to be like that guy one day. And then
Awesome.
Now that we're friends, it's just crazy to me. It's crazy. It's crazy. So long story short, be genuine, go for your dreams, and just give it your all.
Wow, I think that's a perfect way to finish up. Justin Wu, Johnny Baesa, thank you so much. My new friends who are foodies and artists, blessings to you and yours, and we'll be in touch very soon. And there you have it, folks. Just another opportunity for me to share some experiences that I have with some amazing human beings that have come into my life, so to speak. Stay tuned as I share more about Justin Wu and Johnny Baesa and the work that they're doing, the nonprofit work, the art work, the food, etc. Jacque Howard here, folks. Remember, in closing, it's always about justice, peace, and humility.